What's going on, guys? It's Novell with The Buzz at Buzzworthy Radio. Continuing with our coverage of the ATX TV Festival, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Chris Brancato and Maurice Compte, the co-executive producers, as well as Chris being the creator of the new MGM Plus series, Hotel Cocaine, which premieres this Sunday, June 16th. A little disclaimer about this interview. We did get to talk to Chris about how he got Swizz Beatz to come up with the opening theme song of the series, which Billboard posted yesterday, so fans got a little sneak peek of it. And let me tell you, this theme song was absolute fire. Loved every bit of it, and it totally fits with the show. And unfortunately, due to a camera malfunction, I lost the entire conversation with Chris talking about Swizz Beatz. I know, because I really wanted you guys to see it. I really wanted to watch it again with him explaining this to me. But we did get a bulk of our conversation with Maurice and Chris still here, so please enjoy that. Here it is, our interview with Chris Brancato and Maurice Compte. Check it out. You're the executive producer of the show.
Co-EP.
And what was it like presenting this story of your father played out this way? It's just obviously the Roman Conti, the Mutiny Hotel.
There's a couple of things that really bring back like old memories. Colors for me is one of them. Like when I see certain like color arrangements or color palettes, they really bring back old memories. And I remember that we were having one night during the communion scene, which is, I think, is that episode 2?
It was either episode 2 or 3. I was one.
The communion. Yeah. And we were out in a church.
2.
And I was looking at the monitor, and I realized that in my head I was talking to my father. That was the kind of power that this had. I was like, what do you think, Dad? Yeah. How are you feeling about this whole thing? Because the entire scene was played out, and it was an amalgamation of Miami and Cuba to me. Mm-hmm. There's such a strong Cuban influence in that scene. Mm-hmm. And when you go to those parts of the Dominican Republic, it is very throwbacky.
Yeah.
There's a throwback feeling, not just in terms of the era, but in terms of the place itself. It could be Cuba. You could very easily change a couple of things around it. There was a moment of transition there that I found myself and I knew then that I was completely immersed in that world. Yeah. I was like a spectator. I was like a kid at a candy shop many times. Like when we were shooting in some of the rooms, some of the situations that occurred, like the mentality. Chris, how you're able to get into the mentality of an era is also fascinating. What was the photographer who is after Janice and he wants to get Janice?
Yes.
That mentality, that kind of compromise that did exist in the 70s with the whole Playboy thing and the beginning of that was a real thing back then. And he was able to get that kind of compromise and be able to kind of show people experientially what that felt like. The words, become something that you remember because what it's caused to bring out is a feeling inside of you. And he did that. I knew I was completely invested in those moments. And from then on, it was just like, hang on and just show up and just like...
For me, there's no reason to do a period piece unless you're making a contemporary commentary.
I agree.
Otherwise, you're spending money for just to dress the set differently. So here, the couple of themes that I think are very important that get explored. The story, in some senses, is fictional. Maurice's dad did not have an older brother who was a major drug trafficker, although there were major drug traffickers all over his dad's club. And so the fictional elements create the plot that's necessary to drive us from episode to episode. But the themes of the episode are about immigration to the United States, how you climb the ladder for success, how every group, regardless of race, creed, or color, often starts on the bottom rung, and the only way to take that next step on the rung is crime, because you can't become a doctor and a lawyer right away. Right. The Cubans had a special experience here because they were welcomed with open arms because they were opposing Castro. So unlike Irish, Italian, Black, and the Black experience is entirely different because it was a forced immigration for the most part. But the Cuban one was interesting to me. The geopolitical stuff going on underneath was interesting. We're dealing with some of the very, very same things today in terms of the immigration, supposed crisis, the the divide between the left and the right. All of these things we now get to explore sort of through the safe remove of the past. And so that for me is why to do it. And then I think another thing that's important to say is, you know, many viewers love drug shows, crime shows, outlaw shows.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch, and they're fun to see people who are willing to risk death or jail time to get what they want. But for us, the tagline of the show is every pleasure has a price.
Has a price, yeah.
And it's very important for me that we're not doing advertisements for drugs, that we're not, you know, super glamorizing them, that what we're trying to do is show that for every line of cocaine done in the table at the Mutiny, there are 3 dead bodies trailing back to South America. And I think that's what the show represents. I'm glad you've seen those episodes, because you see the sweep of Roman Compte from a guy who really has managed to distance himself from an illegal life. He's to the point where he's pushed his brother out of his life.
Pushed him out of his life, yeah.
And you see, of course, the progression of a man who did have a military background and who gets slowly but surely drawn into this in a way that will hopefully yield many seasons of exciting episodes.
We talked about that too. One last question before we wrap up here is that when we did talk to the cast with this question, because this was done with the filming during the strikes, was there ever a feeling of concern that when those strikes happened and then everybody went back into filming these, it wasn't going to happen at all, do you think?
You mean that we wouldn't be able to complete the show? No, I think we had first of all, the strikes took us, you know, shut us down right mid-stride. I was very excited that we were cruising towards the end. And except for one actor in a minor role losing a prodigious amount of weight between the summer and when we went back to film in January, other than that, there were no blips. And I think we have a great cast, an incredible crew.
Yes, you do.
We had our department heads recruited from all over the world to do the show. So people just came back. It was a hard show to do.
They were all in.
Yeah,
Once you're all in, you know, that's it. Once they were already invested.
I can't speak highly enough about the professionalism of both the actors and the crew on this show. There's not a bad apple in the bunch. It was just a really great experience from a work standpoint.
Well, for what I've seen, you got a hit on your hands. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, especially when I got to episode 4. You just said we're all in. I got all in episode 4 for sure.
Well, when did you go into the strike? Right around then?
We finished 4 right.
So there you go. That's what I'm saying.
See, now it's all coming together now. Yes. June 16th, everybody, premieres on MGM Plus. I'm so excited to take part in the screening today. Pleasure meeting you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.